Okay. Now I don't have to use my dad voice, I guess. And as we were walking through them, looking at them, reviewing them, the state of Kansas says, oh, guess what? You're going to use EAB Navigate. Okay, thank you. So all that work was put in the filing cabinet, and we're here today. So I know some schools have been using it. Some schools are very new to it. And I went to the EAB Navigate conference in Denver back in February, and went to a lot of sessions, learned a whole bunch of stuff. And the gist of it, it's a student retention software course. And what I kind of learned about everything is that you have new users, old users, and we learn more from each other. So how many of you have EAB Navigate? Okay, could y'all move down closer so I can actually talk to you? Please, move down. Yep, come on, come on. So it's a big classroom. There's 20 people in here. So you people that don't have EAB Navigate, you can stay where you are. So. And you're just at risk for get questions. So, okay, right. So, put me on TikTok? Okay. Oh, no, we can't do TikTok, can we? Darn it. So, all right. So. Oh, John's going to the front row. So, okay, okay. So. All right, starts, where are you from? How long have you been using it? And what do you do with Navigate?
University of Kansas. We implemented it initially in 2012. We re-implemented with Navigate. We were a foundations initially.
Uh-huh.
And then re-implemented in 2018. We use the student app. We use a lot of different things. We do not use the predictive analytics. We don't use the academic planning.
Edify.
We don't use Edify.
Yeah. One thing wonderful about EAB, they have a suite of products, and their salesmen call you all the time. They do. They do. Now, I won't say they trick you, but hey, let's have a WebEx and talk about this. And then in the middle of it, they switch to a sales pitch, and now you're stuck in a meeting talking about something you really don't need or don't have and not going to use. And yeah, that's so. Anyway, that's the fun part of Navigate. So as we all know, that KBOR came, oh gosh, about a year ago, and they said, hey, state of Kansas, this is what you're going to be using. So. And it was kind of one of those unfunded mandates. The cost is, gosh, 100 to 200, depending on what modules you have, how many students you have, all that. It's kind of rather expensive. But I understand what they're trying to do. Student retention is very important. If you have a student, it's more cost effective to keep a student than recruit a new one to replace the one that left. So that's the whole point. And we all know our student retention rates are anywhere from 40 to 50% across the board, which is, if you're in the higher 40s to 50s, you're actually doing pretty good. But overall, that's kind of, I want to say sad that half the students that show up freshman year don't make it to senior year. So what's your role with EAB Navigate?
I am a content manager and application manager.
Application manager,
yes,
okay.
And very much a liaison with our IT department. We do not have designated IT.
Okay, so are you the techie person of Navigate? More or less? Okay.
Yes, I don't program it.
Okay. Sir?
Kansas State University.
Okay.
I am the technical person that manages all the interfaces that we do back and forth.
Okay. And how long has Kansas State had Navigate?
I'm going to let Brad discuss this.
Okay. Okay.
Brad Cunningham. I'm the app admin here for K-State for the Navigate platform.
Mm-hmm.
We've had it since 2014, 15. We actually had grades first before we had it, and we got into that 6 months before EAB bought grades first. So we kind of just ended up with it. But we use the student app, we use the staff-facing side, we use the registration component, we use data analytics. We don't do Edify, we don't do the new NavAI stuff. use most of the PUC.
Okay. Okay, quite a bit of it.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. You late guys.
Dave Clark, user interface designer, Kansas City.
Okay.
I'm in nature, and I'm a project manager for the IT department.
Okay. He works for him?
The Slate side, I want to learn about the Navigate side.
Okay. I know USU people don't use it. I know Worksport's had it for a while.
We were at the conference.
Yep.
with you.
Yep.
Yeah. So we've had it for a while. Yeah, we have a lot of things from EAB, Navigate, Edify, just getting into Edify for about the last year or so.
Okay. I thought you had it longer, just a year or so?
We started implementing it probably about a year ago. And,
Okay.
still not really using Edify at this point, but Burn, or Burn is.
Okay.
institutional
And
research.
Navigate itself, how long have you had Navigate?
Oh, over 5 years.
5 years? Okay.
I think.
Okay, that's what I see.
Steve, Krista presented it, Navigate, so,
Okay.
yeah, wow.
Right. Dan, do you have Navigate for student retention?
I don't think we do.
Okay.
I'm going to be asking when we get back.
Okay. Well, you could ask all these people that use it and the price of it, how well it works, and that's kind of why we're in here.
I'm the Kansas Board of Regent representative.
Okay, you're talking next.
Well, yeah, I'm part of the panel next, so
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah.
learning to hear more what any of the institutions have to say about it. So I'm actually the person that's in charge of the portal that calls K-Board to make everybody obedient. So,
Right,
yeah,
right,
So I'll be
right.
working on what we consider the supporting metrics for the strategic plan.
Okay.
And the future dashboard with Kansas Board of Regents.
Right. So if you could save all his questions for the 2:00 thing, that's his thing. And just kind of, I really, when I had this idea of all of us getting together talking about it, was at the conference, maybe over a few drinks, I don't know. He kept buying them, so it's his fault. Just to get everybody get in the room, get a round table, and just share ideas and talk to see everybody's trials and issues and how it works. So, and of course, the next step is once we get it online, what data does cable want? You know, that's a lot of questions. The same questions keep coming around, but that's why you're here. So, Penn State.
Yeah. Hi. Oh. Oh, great. I'll be the first one.
I realize I like what you're doing. I just wanted to get your voice.
Sure. Hi, I'm Ashley Waddell, Director of First Year Programs at Pitt State. So we have been implementing Navigate since last summer, and we went live in August. So we're just a little bit ahead of K-Board's process. So we had started before this came in, and it's been a good first year, I would say. Our students, so I'm on the student user experience side, and we're having some good success.
I mean, I'm also with Pitt State. My name is Brennan Profit. More the data guy, so IT side of Navigate, getting the data
Okay.
to there. So
Okay. K-State. We've heard from K-State. So what's your role?
So I'm actually an IT coordinator. I'm mainly here just to learn more about it.
Okay.
So.
Okay. So.
So I'm with K-State PowerCat Financial, and we use Navigate. Our student peer counselors are advisors, and they use it to schedule appointments. And so I'm actually new in my role here, but I've been using Navigate a lot to run reports on our sessions and to gather data, and working a lot with Brad just to learn more about it and trying to learn as much as I can.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm also with K-State. My name is Anna. I'm a data analyst with K-State Global Campus. I don't specifically use EAB Navigate, but I do use EAB in a different capacity for market research and stuff like that.
I know we have some data analysts here from Emporia, and they're saving their questions for later. But yeah. Anybody from WSU? Oh, there. Okay. Getting excited. Okay. Yep, they've had.
Melissa Hawkins, manager of the Technology Help Desk, and from Wichita State, we are moving into the new Shocker Success Center where other departments are using Navigate, and so we were looking at how that would work for us and how to implement that.
Amy Belden, ITS Applications Training Manager, and just here to learn a little bit more about Navigate.
Okay. So a couple questions come to mind. The most obvious one, does it work? Does it work? Has your retention rates climbed since you've implemented Navigate? Honestly, the old timers, you've had it for 5 years, you had it for 5 years plus. Wichita's had it for a couple years. Maybe you Pitt State people close your ears just in case. Does it work?
I would say it's very hard to say definitively this thing, like EAB likes to put out comments that say they started using it and retention immediately went up 5%. There's a million different initiatives going on campus at all times. So it's impossible. Students don't turn around with the thing on their back that says, I'm here because Navigate got me here. Right. So, but what I will say is when you go program by program, one thing that it's really helped us do is clearly track involvement and retention based. So we do progress reports, for example, and we have a massive 15-page Power BI dashboard built around that, where we look at individual faculty, college, department, participation, and we look at retention. And we're seeing better numbers for the students that, you can tell it helps you target students that have 1 alert versus 2 versus 3 versus 4, and how to get involved with those students. So if you build your particular programs knowing what Navigate can help you track, I will say it helps us do that better. It helps us keep track of what's going on.
Write that down.
But I think it's impossible to say, because we turned on Navigate, our retention went up 3%. We're all doing too many things on campus to try and retain our students.
Does K-State have a very specific Navigate team, or is it it's just another job?
If by team you mean me, then yes.
Okay.
So that's my job. But we are working on, I have a lot of support from folks in the department around me, where they are also either committed. For instance, our academic coaches are really involved because they see a huge benefit with the students that they're working with. So I have a lot of support from people who it's not their real job description, but are very willing to help out, and I get all kinds of help. Our IT, thanks to Paul, is very responsive to what we need within the bandwidth that he has. So, but a team, officially one person.
Right, okay. So I know Washburn has their success is based on one person. I hate to say that, but
it is. Yeah, Christina. Yeah. But I think we have a lot of EAB products. That's the one that had one person assigned. We have a lot of EAB products at Washburn, but that's the one product that we assigned a person to move it forward, and that's why it's successful at Washburn.
Okay.
The other ones didn't have that. They were kind of, you do this.
One of the many things that you do.
Right.
Okay. Yep. Wichita, how has it worked for you? Can you track it back to it was successful?
So, unfortunately, no. I can't answer that question. The folks that deal with that.
I think we can kind of hear. So,
yeah,
you get your steps in, sure, but.
Let me see if they're picking up the ambient voices.
Okay.
Sure. So it seems to be working, but I don't have all that information because I'm not on the advising side of it.
Okay. Okay. And KU, can they say it's working?
It's working. It's grown. I'm the person that oversees all of it. I implemented it, but it's grown because of.
So your role has changed too
My
since
role
you.
has changed.
Okay. So you oversee it now.
I have an individual who is responsible for the day-to-day maintenance and support of it. My role has shifted to expanding it across campus and further developing initiatives with the different use case scenarios, different units who want to become involved with the Navigate system.
Right.
So, quick comment, and I can go either way if you want to go with this, but this session is being recorded so that people can watch it later. So we got some options. I don't mind running the mic around. The other, I really don't, because I swim competitively, and I'm clearly not doing that this week because I'm here. But we can use this table. So there's a couple of you that are speaking more than others. We just mic this panel, and you can have the panel discussion that you want to have. I'm flexible.
We're IT people. We don't.
I don't feel
get in front of people. Right. We're IT people.
So I'll just carry on. I can stick around the room, and I'll try to catch up with the conversation. But don't let me be the thing that's slowing down the talk.
Right. Like I said, when I picked this venue, it's like there wasn't a round table option. So it's like, Pitt State, what challenge have you had so far?
I'm sure Brennan can talk about our technical challenges, which there are many because we have a really old system, and so it is really hard for Brennan, I think. But so on the functional side, which is the world that I live in, it was just a lot to learn and to implement and teach others all at the same time. So we had a really quick turnaround. Now I think that it has forced us to become experts in something that we weren't experts in at all, because we're standing in front of our faculty and our advisors and trying to teach them a product that we learned a couple of days before. And so we've solved a lot of problems. So, trial by fire, I guess, is part of that a little bit. But that's probably been the biggest challenge. And then really to identify what we needed the tool to do for us, I would say, in the many, many things that it could do or we could set up or we could utilize, kind of trying to figure out what the most important things, the most urgent things, the things that are going to benefit the most
mentioned over
were.
here earlier that it worked better once you identified your matrix and what you're searching for. Somebody said something. Was that, you mentioned that? Can you expand on that a little more? Because that's what you're talking about is if you have a tool but you can't use it right, if you can't use a crescent wrench like a screwdriver.
So the first thing that you have to realize about EAB is that it shines, and it came out of the 2-year space because it's designed for institutions that don't have a wide range of tools available to them. And it does a little bit of everything, but not quite as good as that expensive product off the shelf that does that same thing. For instance, it has case management, but it's not as good as Maxient. So it does a little bit of everything. And the hard part is figuring out when what comes in the box, how do you bend it to do what you want it to do? And that becomes very challenging.
Do people did they get disillusioned? It doesn't work. It's crap. Let's get rid of it.
Oh yeah, on the user side, the hardest thing for us is trust and getting them to walk away from spreadsheets. So the fundamental block of Navigate is the analytic component, which is all statistics and math and AI and machine learning. And a lot of our users don't come from a place where that makes sense to them, and many of them don't understand statistics. So we run into a situation all the time where there's a data point that says a student is at risk, but the student has a 3.9 GPA and they're graduating next semester. How are they at risk? And they don't understand a lot of the stuff. So from a user side, trust is a real problem. From a technical side, trying to mesh it in with a system like we use PeopleSoft, and over the years we bastardized that system enough that it causes problems, and it links, it creates, even this morning, we found out just a little while ago, our files didn't load this morning because of issues. So
because of some customization,
could
you used
be,
the other
or
word,
it could
but
be on
a
EAB
customization
side,
that they
we
made
don't
years
know.
ago that
Right.
stopped working.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so now we're covered. We've got 2 mic people, so we're going to get twice as fast. So.
Well, I'm out of questions now. Why do you need 2 mic people?
All right, Michelle, let's go.
So, so tracking it and utilizing it, where do you see it going from here, though? Because you've implemented it on, not talking to the old people, the old users, to the new ones that are just trying it. What do you tell them don't do or not do? Because they're going to make mistakes. Or is KBOR going to come around and say, oh, yeah, this is perfect, we love it?
But, yes, I have to talk. I guess the question I would have for anybody that uses it and I'll use the term KBOR expert very, very loosely, as I was told 2 weeks ago I'm coming to this.
I kind of got him voluntold.
Yeah, I was
after about
voluntold.
10 emails, like, hey.
So KBOR's tracking the data, so we're going to be using it, to basically put out reports for the regions. I guess for the question for me is at the institution level, yes, we now have a way of tracking these students. We now have a way of setting up appointments with these students. We can do follow-ups with these students. But it still requires that student to contact you back. It still requires that student to really kind of show up for their appointments and stuff like that. And so, I mean, that's probably kind of the question mark of how well is it helping or not, because yes, it's a tool to help the institutions retain students, but still the students have a bit of a responsibility themselves. And so is there a way for the advisors or those institutions to kind of follow up with those students that are missing those appointments or missing those things? And so is there a plan in place at the institution level to kind of still get a hold of those students that are slipping through the cracks, so to speak? And how does that work through EAB?
Well, they have the app, and they can message through the app, correct? Okay. So he's asking, is these students responding? said,
Yes, and to answer your question, at the moment, again, it depends on the initiative. So for instance, there's a new functionality they rolled out, which they call hand raise, where a student says, I need help. They're self-issued alerts. We have a central policy for that where the folks that respond to that have 2 business days to reach back out to the student directly according to their unit policy. So if the unit normally would reach out 3 times and then call it done, they follow their normal thing. But for other initiatives that use EAB, it depends on the department, what they would normally do aggressively or not aggressively for reaching out to students. So there isn't a blanket umbrella that says anything that happens in Navigate will be treated this way. It tends to be initiative by initiative or department by department to get the users. And I think that you'll find the academic advisors, the academic coaches, the student life people that are using it are aggressive in their outreach because they are normally. They all get it. It doesn't matter the technology that they're using. The outreach is going to be the same. They're trying to get a hold of students. The students tend to respond more to text messages. They respond to the notifications that come across the phone, not necessarily the stuff that comes through their email. So I would say focus on those kinds of communications. But yeah, I mean, the students are responding to it pretty well.
KU, what are your thoughts on getting the student to answer that text?
Yes, I would very much agree that texting is very popular. We do a lot of things outside of Navigate in that we do phone campaigns. So we actively reach out to students, have conversations with them, and a lot of times we'll do a phone call first, then we send a text as follow-up. A lot of times they do respond to the text when they didn't respond to the phone call, but we track any sort of engagement with that, and we'll add a note based off whether we had a conversation with them, what that response was, is it resolved? But it's based off different initiatives. What's that end goal? What's that attempt at trying to reach the student? What's that need? And so every office is kind of doing their own different thing. And so I find that it's very difficult to kind of compare and contrast those types of initiatives in the data.
Wichita? Can you speak to that?
I can't.
Okay. I know one of the problems I guess you're going to have is like you called them units and you called them departments, I believe. And what do you call your individual or issue? We have a group of 5, 6 advisors that do campus. Yeah, we have the School of Business. Yeah, we have the math department. But it's still small enough. We won't have that trouble. We have 5 people doing it, not 25 or 30. What do you have?
Yeah, same Washburn advisors, group of advisors at Washburn that work the campus and reach out. We also in IT, so I'm of course in the IT side, they reach out and report IT concerns. Someone doesn't have a laptop, don't have internet, that type of thing. That all comes through Navigate, and we track it through that. So those are raised through on that side. So we're all kind of advisors for the students.
Right. So how is Pitt going to do it? Putting you on the spot there.
Sure. So we're embarking on a new Student Success Center initiative. So this is all wrapped up in that. We're going from a faculty advising model to a centralized advising model. And so we have almost solely, not fully, but almost solely focus our rollout of EAB to our Student Success Center staff. So my staff in first year programs, our academic advisors, and our career development office, we're all part of Student Success. So, Navigate calls them care units. So we've kind of strategized. These are the heavy users of the system. These are the folks who are going to be meeting with the students and tracking the appointments and putting the notes in. And so we're learning on our side how we're going to use the product. And then, we'll teach faculty how to set up appointments with students and those types of things. But I will say, kind of to your previous question as well, we find that we are meeting students where they are, which is on their phone, and we did not have any kind of tool because we didn't have an academic advising office prior to this, so it's kind of all happening at once. So there's no way we can say, yes, this is leading to retention beyond just physical people, right? But they have a way to track these students and know. So I would say my anecdotal experience is if a student is not contacting their advisor and responding to their text messages and their emails, these are the folks who probably are going to be retention losses, right? Like that, as an advisor myself, that's what I'm seeing. If I can't get a hold of somebody, they're probably not going to class. They're probably not doing all of the things that are determinants of their success. And so I think we will know that earlier, who those folks are. But I'm not going to go to their room and take them to class. So there's a point at which, but I think we'll know who those folks are earlier than we ever would know because of a tool like this. So that's where I see it in my daily practice. Again, I've got the information that says, no, this student, everything that I'm looking at is concerning. So I think to your question about how's it going to work for us, I think that's it, is we'll know who those folks are earlier and more consistently across the areas that we're serving in our area.
And one of the things to keep in mind, I've said this for a lot of years, Navigate has kind of two brains. So it has one that's all focused around analytics and intervention, and then it's got one that's for day-to-day advising, coaching, tutoring. And at least at K-State, we don't ask our advisors and our tutors and our coaches to do data analytics. That's not a part of their job. So there's no real overlap except maybe somebody like me in the middle who's looking at both the advising side and the analytics side. And the folks that are interested in the analytics side generally aren't involved with the advising side. So when you start to talk about value, it depends on who you ask. If you ask an advisor, are any of these analytics helping you? Like, I don't even know what those are. Half of them aren't even turned on for us. Versus you talk to our analytics guys and they're like, well, we don't know anything about advising. So when you're using it, you have to kind of know who is going to be answering what questions, because you'll get a very different set of answers depending on who you ask and what part of the platform you're asking about.
Like when you talk to the advisors and what information they need, is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, or if you're getting asked about reporting back and what's going on, our advisors don't run reports other than maybe a notes or a campaign report or something like that. But they only put one toe into the analytics side and that's it. To them, all that doesn't matter. So it depends on who you ask.
Okay, thank you. So, I was going to say if you have a question. You're standing there ready for a mic. So what should Navigate do? One thing I always think of, and at the conference I always said this is next, but from the user standpoint, what should it do better? Yes, absolutely.
So as a new user, we came from a product that had a lot more flexibility in terms of attributes, and I think for Kboard this is good to know as well. So there are certain things that aren't hard-coded, for lack of my understanding, like into the system, and so you just can't pull that information because it's not there or it's hard to get to, and so that lack of flexibility, lack of, as a non-technical user trying to pull information is challenging. You guys are nodding. So, and this is my 1 year. If they're nodding too, I think we're on the right track. So, if I want to know if a student has received a Pell Grant, Brennan spent tons and tons and tons of time trying to figure out how to get that into a way that we could then use it. And so I think that's its biggest kind of challenge for me. And I think on the technical side as well, because I can't, as a user, just go in and say, okay, I want to start loading, that they live in this residence hall as a report that then I can pull. I have to do it in a weird, funky way. Or I had an advisor yesterday wanting to know, I need to know my advisees who are below a certain number of credit hours, and I want it to show on this column in a report. And I'm like, well, it can't do that. So you're going to have to trust that you're going to have to run a report with that range and then just know that those are the people. But I think you guys mentioned relying less on a spreadsheet, and that is hard for a lot of folks to not have all of the pieces of information in every column and to use the system to do that. So that's just been my experience. It's just not quite as flexible as our previous system was in some respects. In others, it's much more flexible, but that's the piece that I'm like, ugh, this is tough.
You're going to learn to love categories.
Well, we have 1 million, right, Brent?
Yeah, each student has 30
That's the only way. We spend most of our time going, how do we get this searchable and findable?
Yes.
It has to be through categories or tags. Those are the two ways that
we've got a lot. We've learned a lot. As it turns out, loading each individual dollar amount for holds made for a lot of categories. So that was, in hindsight, not what we needed. So we were like, sorry, Brennan, take this off.
The other thing that the phrase that we throw around a lot is unintended consequences.
Sure, yeah.
Is every choice you make in Navigate. For instance, on K-State, when you've got multiple advisors, the students needed to know which advisor was associated with which program. And the only way we could do that is by giving each advisor that association. So that created now a list that's 150 long of these associations that now show up. Now it looks great for the student, but anything on the back end, we have to click 150 things to do one action. So there are a lot of unintended consequences with the platform.
Sure.
Any other comments or questions about Navigate and what should it do? For your new people, do you have any questions for the old timers?
So at K-State, I think you guys mentioned you had the analytics module. I guess I don't even think I've seen that. And we've sent them data, but that was like last semester at this point, like last fall. And I haven't heard much from them on it. And what was the timeline like that on that for you guys? Do you remember?
So that relies entirely on your strategic lead. If you have a good strategic lead, I'm on, I think, my 9th strategic lead at this point after so many years. Wow. Some of them have been absolutely amazing, and they all went on and got promoted and don't do that stuff anymore, and then we get stuck with somebody new. So
that does
really
not get promoted for years.
Correct.
Because
that's where we are right now.
Oh, okay.
So we're working on, each one has different strengths, and some are better at responding than others. But because we have the data module, we can pull whatever we need, and then I just work with our internal IR guys, and they either combine stuff. We have a guy here on campus, his name's Chris Urban, and he's very familiar. He's worked with me for a long time on what Navigate can produce, what the reports look like. So he is equally familiar with that aspect, and he's able to say, okay, I can take this from here and put this in a dashboard, and we can pull stuff together. So having them as an ally has made huge differences in the initiatives and the turnaround for being able to give information to campus.
Thank you for that. I guess one other thing is, do you update that module frequently? Like, do you have to send those files more than, I guess how often do you send that load?
It's nightly. I mean,
365 days. Yeah.
Even for the analytics.
Yeah.
Do you know how long does it take to run? Because for us, our process is like 4 hours at least for that module. So.
Well, it would take like 3 to 4 hours at the very initially to get all this stuff done. We're working with a Sierra Cedar for our database stuff. Mm-hmm. They were able to tweak some stuff for us, and it's running in an hour now.
Nice.
So it runs at midnight and finishes around 1:15. Okay.
So we're also implementing a new student information system. It'll be Oracle. Sounds like you guys are on PeopleSoft, so this will be, I guess, cloud-based version of that. So it's probably going to look quite a bit different when we get on that, but that's here in a year or so. We're going to turn around and re-implement, so it'll be fun.
So you build everything yourself then, right? You didn't have them build it for you?
Correct. For this go-around, yeah.
Yeah, see, we're working that's what we did. It took us, 10 years, 2014. And we're going the opposite now. We're going to have them start building everything for us and get the technical side out of the loop. And just say that's been frustrating. So,
I've run my own data analytics. He's just going to keep the mic. So.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. Anyway, okay. We're kind of doing good on time. You want any last comments? I'm sorry. Okay. Well, we can wrap up early. Any last comments for this group?
I hate to spoil anything before the next session.
Right. There might be another group. I'd say we just roll on into what KBOR would like to see, but there might be new people coming in, so I don't know. So, any last comments for this group? Yeah, I think for a CIO from a small school, our data is going to look wholly different than their data, but.
Yeah, I think what I would say to that is that we will be working with EAB to my primary job will be coming up with a template of the data that KBOR will want. The names may vary across institutions, and that's fine. So what we'll do is we'll work with our contact at EAB, which is Chase Vogel, and he's working in hand with 6 different people that work with your institutions. And so what we'll do is we'll get that template put together of the data that we're looking for and the data types. And so it may have different names in different categories, it may have different tags from place to place, but he will be able to take that, translate it to his people, and then they will be able to talk to you guys to pull what we're looking for. And so then we'll have that template, and then what we'll do is we'll import that into our own table at KBOR. It'll have a standardized name, much similar to what we've done with system-wide transfer courses. If anybody's familiar with that, every school's got a different name for English Comp. It's got a different number for English Comp. And so we take that data and we make it, an English 101 or whatever we give our KRSN number that is, so it's standard across everywhere. So when you go out to look it up in our portal, it's the same. So going to be kind of a similar process with EAB. And I will say that this is not set in stone. Obviously, I have no idea exactly what direction we're going when we're building that template. But we'll make sure that we have all the data elements we're looking for, and then we'll talk to Chase. Chase will let us know, okay, that kind of falls into these categories, that kind of falls under this data type, so forth and so on. And then we'll work with those different representatives to get it. So, you may call it blue here, and you may call it pink here, and you may call it red there. All it matters is that it's going to go into a color, and we'll take it and we'll put it all in the same thing where we need it. And when it gets reported out, honestly, it's going to be overkill, probably on the data collection side of it, for what will actually be produced out in the portal. It'll be very aggregated. It'll be very streamlined. It'll be basically thrown into a chart that essentially a higher up executive or board member can go look at and go, working, failing. And that's really what it's got to come down to them. Is it good? Is it bad? So they're not going to get into the weeds of all the different possibilities of it. And so, we'll get 1,000 things from you. I'll streamline it down into 100 things into our database, and I'll present them 3. Well, actually, it'll be 6 when it's all said and done. But so that's kind of that direction that we're going. So I would just say at this point in time, don't panic about whether you have the data or what it's going to be called or customize anything like that. There's going to be steps in place in the process that we're going to do that we'll work through that to start doing that. And that's going to be happening relatively quickly, but for the most part, we're not going to be looking to collect that data until the spring of 25. And so we'll be working the rest of the summer and into the fall to make sure we get that. So when we collect that data in the spring of 5, it will be for what's happening in the fall of 24. So I think there was a more aggressive timeline at one point in time. We've kind of pushed that off just a little bit there, just to make sure that all the schools have EAB implemented and that KBOR really has an opportunity to put together that template to know exactly what we're pulling. And I can talk more in the next session about some of those metrics and what some of that data is going to be, just so you kind of have an idea, and some of the reasoning behind why we're asking for those things.
Okay, fantastic. All right, I just want to thank you, Brad, for your comments. We're kind of close on time here, so thank you for coming. We'll give you a short break, and I think 2 o'clock is your session?
Yep.
My session. Whatever, your session. We renamed that, so KBOR session. So I want to thank you again for your comments. So I think I know we all compete for the same students, but we all collaborate in the IT department. So I would share your contact information with the other schools, just to share ideas or have questions with if you want to. So I would always encourage collaboration. So please contact each other. John, KU, K-State. I remember your name, I'm sorry. Kim, your name was? Ashley. So, Britt. So collaborate, so Judd has a happy life, easy life. So he has all the data he wants in the world. So anyway, thank you all for coming. See you in a little bit.